I want to raise my people. I don't want to raise myself. I want to raise my people. These hands are going for your throat very soon because take from you that which you stole from us.
You sound pathetic and like you need to get a job.
Oh boy, is this one a cracker. I've got one of my favorite Candace Owens moments of all time for you today. This has to be one of the worst, most egregious and embarrassing examples of a socialist in a Western country thinking they're a Marxist revolutionary that you will ever see. And it also highlights some incredibly important points about the mentality of these individuals that we're going to dig into. So with that, let's get into the clips.
Well, you spoke about the protesters outside and how you wanted them inside to talk to them. Well, here I am. Except I'm not. I don't sell copies of Socialist Worker on cold streets. You know, I'm an activist. We don't believe in no platforming people like you, but we disagree with you, but you're not fascists. At the end of the day, when fascists come, we do believe in no platforming them, just as my grandfather no platformed them in 1939 in North Africa. Now, what I want to talk to you about is something you've touched on, limited government. You all believe in limited government. I believe in limited government. I'm an anarchist. I believe in really limited government, right? But you touched on
socialist and an anarchist.
No,
you can't be both.
Let me finish. Okay. So you said, you guys were touching on something a little bit earlier. You said there is no conservative Antifa. Conservatives don't protest.
I said that.
Yeah. Do you know why?
Conservative Antifa.
I'll tell you why. There's no conservative Antifa. Conservatives, as a rule, don't protest because money talks. And you don't want limited government. You want limited government for yourselves. You don't want limited government for the working people. I'll tell you why. Because let me finish. Right? The reason there is no conservative Antifa, the reason that conservatives don't protest is because you don't need to. You hold the levers of power anyway. You own the police. You own the army. You own the media. Right? You don't need to protest. You get other people to do it for you.
Wait, okay, so...
As a class, as a collective, conservatism and the right wing rules the media. It rules the police.
Whoa, stop. I know, this is a little... There's so many... No, you've made a few, though. You've made a few here.
We talk about free speech. I'll be 2 more minutes. So you talk about limited...
No. First off, saying we rule the media, have you read a single article about Turning Point UK? Have you read a single article about Turning Point UK? Because by that standards, you're ruling the media. If you've looked at anything that's been said about us before we got here, you're ruling the media. Secondly, this idea of trying to, I'm tired of this like lazy intellectual argument of like conservatives are all rich white people, because that's what you're doing here when you say like you guys are the ruling elite. No, people, you're correct that we have jobs and we can't show up at 8 a.m. in the morning. No. I know. I'm gonna come back to you. You're correct that we have jobs and we can't show up. You've heard me. I came from absolutely nothing, so I'm not gonna let you do this little like ooh woe is me workers part. That's my entire life. Okay, I'm a conservative because I believe in hard work, and I think it's lazy to stand outside and hold a sign. I think it's lazy, okay? So if that's your excuse, you're not gonna get away with this with me, okay? You're not gonna paint conservatives as rich people that are in power and in control. You're talking to the wrong girl, okay? So come with an intellectual argument about why it is that conservatives don't riot and protest and incite violence in the middle of the street, because the answer is not because they're rich and controlling the media.
You can't even imagine how brainwashed an individual would have to be to think that conservatives own all of the institutions. Like, are you that married to your ideology that you refuse to open your eyes, or are you just simple? Hopefully, for your sake, it's the latter. First of all, the left owns Hollywood.
Lots of people run Hollywood! Yes, lots of people like Cam.
Look at all of the garbage woke propaganda that is being produced en masse at the moment. They have captured governments all around the world. Look at the way the former president is being prosecuted, while the FBI actually go and protect young Hunter. And they make sure that the story is painted as Russian disinformation.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
Who do you think is behind this?
Well, the Russians would be my #1 guess.
Russia is very actively engaged in a disinformation campaign in the 2020 election.
Is part of a Russian disinformation.
Russian disinformation.
Disinformation.
Russian disinformation.
Russian disinformation effort.
Russian disinformation.
Through a Russian intelligence operation.
There could be a laptop out there that was stolen from me. There could be that I was hacked. It could be that it was Russian intelligence. It could be that it was stolen from me.
Tell you what, it's an organized crime family as far as I'm concerned.
Furthermore, Klaus Schwab openly says how he infiltrates cabinets around the world, and installs leaders to go along with their agenda.
That we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
Arguably, some of the most powerful people in the world today are the owners of these giant tech companies. And if you ever went to Silicon Valley and just had a look around, or went to one of the board meetings at Meta or any of the other woke companies, I'm absolutely certain that you would be surrounded by a sea of fawning PC soy boys and tofu-eating blue-haired social justice warriors. All of the biggest corporations in the world are falling over themselves to support whatever the current thing is, and however that may change from day to day. And this is largely due to the ESG agenda, the environment, social, and governance. But that's for a whole nother video. So if you guys want me to do a video on that, then let me know in the comments. Furthermore, major sporting leagues have gone completely woke. Supreme Court justices can't tell you what a woman is. And Greta Thunberg just got permission to sue Sweden for their lack of action on climate change. The adults left the room a long time ago, guys. How much more evidence would one need to understand that the left has captured many of the biggest institutions in the world, and that conservative power, even though that might have been a thing a few decades ago, is a thing of the past? Or maybe they just choose not to see it.
Because we're better people.
It's your ideology.
Because we have decency and standards.
We have jobs.
I'd like an opportunity to come back on this, if possible. I thought Candace raised some very good points, and I'd like the opportunity to come back on those points. So firstly, right, when I talk about conservatives, I'm not stereotyping them as rich white people. I'm talking about them as people that subscribe to an ideology. And that ideology is the ideology of the corporation and the rule of the corporations and the rule of the corporations and the rich over the poor. Whether you are rich or whether you are poor, you support that ideology.
You're just wrong.
Now, let me just say one more thing. One more thing about you talking about how you came from nothing. Well, I congratulate you on that. Thanks. But there's a lot of people out there that didn't. This society leaves behind a lot of losers.
No,
I congratulate you for being a winner, but how many heads did you step on to get there?
The point that I'm making is anybody can make something themselves in a free market society. That is why I am a conservative. It's not because I'm rich. It's not because I come from money. And what you're using right now is bad stereotypes to come up with you're using bad stereotypes to come up with an unsound argument.
Stick around, guys, because this guy is about to get completely unhinged and get weird and aggressive. But the best part is that he's about to get verbally bitch slapped by Candace Owens. She's about to go full on rhetorical Wing Chun and make him regret that he ever stepped to her, which is going to lead perfectly into me breaking down the psychology of leftism. But first of all, just observe this guy's demeanor and the hatred that has engulfed his spirit. What do you think his intentions really are? And what do you think really motivates him? Looking forward to reading your comments on this one. And after this next clip, I'll share with you guys what I think about it. But slight tangent here. I lived in London for 3 years, and I've noticed this weird strain of socialism that exists specifically in the UK. It's almost like there's a demographic of people that still think that they live in Birmingham in the 1930s and work in coal mines and form their revolutionary Marxist unions where they stand up to the bourgeoisie. It is an odd strain of socialism and something that I've only seen in the UK. So I'm genuinely interested to know, for those of you who live in the UK or who understand the situation, what is the historical context there, and why is there such a palpable and bitter hate of the Tories or the Conservative Party?
Using bad stereotypes to come up with an unsound argument. Imagine if you spent...
I want to raise my class. I want to raise my people. I don't want to raise myself. I want to raise my people. And let me tell you something.
You want to raise what?
Right? I talk to all you Tories in here. Every single one of you. I work hard, and I'm a working class man. Right? Let me tell you something, right? These are the hands, my friend, the hands that make the things that you enjoy.
Don't put your hands in someone's face.
These hands are grabbing for your throat very soon because we are winning, you are losing. These are the hands, bro. These are the
typical leftist violence.
Take from you.
Typical leftist violence. No, but this is what we're saying.
These are the hands that will take from you that which you stole from us as a class. I raised my class, not myself. And I
I come from less than you. You need to get a job. You need to get a job. You need to get a job. This isn't it, okay? You're not noble. You're not giving some speech that's going to be remembered for the next 10 years, okay? You sound pathetic and like you need to get a job. I don't know, it's like the weirdest thing that you're doing right now. What do you think you are, like Martin Luther King, and we're all gonna look back and go, oh my God, thank God for that speech. These hands are gonna come. You sound violent, you sound unhinged, and you sound like you're disproportionately angry at conservatives because we don't riot and incite violence in the middle of the street. You sound ridiculous. You just said you're gonna put your hands around his throat. What sort of example are you leading for the people in your community?
Put your hands on my throat.
What are you doing? Because the truth is that you guys are lazy. Let me tell you what leftists are. You're envious of people that work harder than you. That's all you're doing right now. You're being envious, and socialism is the creed of envy and greed.
Why are comrades so angry all the time? Guys,
like putting your hands on someone's
Okay. Thank you for the sort of Jesus speech. Okay, we're gonna
How embarrassing. You could honestly never live that down, but I get the feeling with a guy like that, it'd be hard to convince him how much of a dick he looks like. And he says that he doesn't want to be rich and he wants to lift his class, whatever that means, your class. But I bet if you put $1 million in his bank tomorrow, he wouldn't be upset about it. And he would not be in a rush to redistribute it. They never are. These are the kinds of people that claim to be for the working class and that they'll never sell out. But the truth is, they simply have nothing to sell. And Candace finished it off by saying socialism is the creed of envy and greed. What an absolute bar. It even rhymes. And this is just demonstrably true. And this guy is a walking, talking embodiment of that. You can see the envy and the resentment just emanating from every fiber of his being. This is not a guy who wants to lift his class, as he claims, in such a grossly self-righteous and virtue signaling way. This is a man that simply despises those above him and wants to drag them down and see them burn. He wouldn't be capable of lifting a damn thing, not himself, definitely not his class. And Candace just wiped the floor with him in the most perfect way. You see, normally these unhinged ideologue fools are able to just yell and scream, and the speakers just sort of sit back until somebody ushers them away and they can go home and sleep at night feeling like they've done their job as a little revolutionary Marxist. But not Candace. During this speech, this man clearly developed some of that rapid onset amnesia because he must have forgot who he was talking to. She gives it to him right between the eyes. She is having absolutely none of his childish bullshit. And she calls him out in detail for exactly what he's doing, which is thinking that he's giving some big revolutionary speech that will be remembered for decades. It was a brilliant takedown, a very necessary one, and also the perfect way to combat these people. We need more people like Candace who won't let them just get away with yelling out this mindless bullshit and just making a scene all the time. These people need to be embarrassed and humiliated for these actions. They need to be held accountable, and that's what Candace does so damn well. But guys, just as the left holds the levers of power in the major institutions around the world, you hold the levers of power in terms of your like and subscribe. And the fact that you haven't used those levers of power to smash that like button and hit the subscribe makes me think, whoa, this person right now is using their institutional privilege to oppress me. And not only oppress me, but oppress my community. So if you want to be a part of social change, then I would seriously recommend you check your privilege.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that is.
Topher, can you explain? Check your privilege, please.
That's getting someone to acknowledge their own inherent privileges and reminding them to put them aside in order to better understand another human's plight.
That's it from me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to get at me on social media or join the Rattlesnake TV community at Locals, then have a look at all the links in the bio. And furthermore, if you want to watch another video, then click right here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, then click right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is Rattlesnake TV, keeping you armed and dangerous.